Hey friends, it's Beth here with Aging Care Solutions, offering professional guidance and personal family caregiving experience, plus a whole lot of life experiences and a lot of family engagement over the years with my role in healthcare, senior healthcare, and my experience with this title. And what I want to talk about today is something called compassion fatigue. And I want to know how can we manage it while we are still caregiving our family member? Because I was definitely impacted by this, and I didn't even realize it until, well, I sort of realized it because I was so frustrated many times. But a friend of mine pointed it out to me, and I'll tell you the story in a minute. But compassion fatigue is a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion that caregivers may experience after prolonged exposure to the needs of others or the suffering of others, especially when they're providing care for a loved one who's aging, has a chronic illness, or is disabled. It's sometimes called secondary traumatic stress, and it's just, it's described as the cost of caring, if you will. I sort of feel like in all the years of my caregiving, and also just working with families and seeing the stress that they were under and trying to offer, the support that I could and that knowledge that I had, as well as the experience that I was going through, I felt like I had PTSD. I felt like for years I had it because I had a very sensitive startle response if I heard a horn blow or a door slam or someone yell. Normally I'd be like, I would look, it wouldn't impact me. But during that stretch, that 10-year stretch, I was so hyped. My central nervous system was completely wrecked. I mean, not only was I working in that industry, helping families, knowing what they were going through, I was also managing my loved one. She lived with us for almost a year before we found the right place for her to live. And then my weekends and once during the week was typically spent going back and forth to check on her and visit and have some, meaningful time together. And then I was also volunteering for the early onset for the Alzheimer's Association. I was part of a team, and we were facilitators for something called the Memory Cafe. So I really did start to develop some of these fatigue symptoms, and you might see yourself in some of these. And if you're caregiving for any length of time, you definitely will. You will definitely have or be displaying some of these signs, or maybe you've gotten past it at this point, but chronic emotional and physical exhaustion. I used to laugh and say, "Oh, I haven't slept in 6 years," because at that time I had 6-year-old twins, and I was really in the throes of full-time work in a large territory, and in charge of, in that area, there was 4 hospitals, and I think there was 32 skilled rehab facilities that I was tasked with building relationships in and following our patients and whatnot. And then, of course, I was doing my volunteer work, and I was basically my mother's advocate, seeing her every week, twice weekly. So the emotional and physical exhaustion that I had was a real thing. And did it make me irritable, anxious, and depressed? You bet. But because of my personality, and I think I always want to feel like I have everything under control because I'm this hyper independent person, but it impacted me. It impacted me greatly, and I had difficulty sleeping. I had weight increase, and the longer it stretched, the heavier I got. And when my mother died, I lost weight. And when, like all these different ages and stages of how my body absorbed all this. But one of the other things is the loss of empathy or feeling numb towards not only my loved ones, but other families. I would see how someone who was, like 102, and how, I don't know, like, I think to me, I was like, well, I know that it's a sad thing to lose someone, but it shouldn't be unexpected. And so for me, in the throes of this compassion fatigue, I was stumped many times. I was like, why is everybody not, just sort of not understanding that this would have been a natural course for someone of that age? It also gave me feelings of hopelessness and guilt because, of course, I wasn't able to do everything that I needed to do for everybody. I used to go into my boss's office and I'd be like, I don't think I can do it anymore. I'm not sure if I can do this. He goes, what are you talking about? You're fine. Everything's good. Everything's good here. I got you. I'll tell you, that was one of the things I loved about working for this guy. He was so calm. He always wanted to find a solution. He never freaked out about anything. Let's talk about it. And if we don't get a solution today, we'll revisit it, come back, we'll have a coffee and chat, and we'll work on it. Let's not worry about it today. I just loved him. He was one of the best people I ever worked for. God rest his soul. He died too young. He was 55. Withdrawing from social activities and relationships. Well, yeah, because when you're caregiving and looking after small children, I was in that sandwich generation of working and having children late, and then having a parent, become ill with dementia that progressed over the course of 15 years. But yeah, definitely missing out on feeling like you're missing out and that you are on autopilot. And I did feel emotionally detached. There was times when I was just like, well, that's sort of like the way it is. And because I was living it, I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to need to really kind of, it wasn't that I was unaware of the trauma that families were going through, because many times I would see them when there was like a crisis in families. A lot of times they were like, well, Dad was just driving 3 months ago. Now he doesn't even know who we are. So things would start to happen for families rather quickly. And I did see this. And sometimes it's facility dementia too. A lot of people are disoriented. They've got them on new medications. So once they get home, a lot of times everybody adjusts really well and they're eating the way they want. They're sleeping in their own bed. So things calm down for them when they do get home. But for me, I really feel like I know what you're going through. I know what you're going through. If you are experiencing these signs of fatigue, and a lot of times we don't even recognize it. We just think, well, I'm getting older and this is happening. Well, it's going to happen because family caregiving is hard, and we're particularly vulnerable to compassion fatigue because I was deeply emotionally invested in this. I was going to try to fix it, actually. I started researching stuff. I was going to try to figure out maybe she needed this, maybe she needed more vitamin D, or maybe this, maybe it was the statin drug that they kept upping, and there was no switching it off. There was no switching it off because I was on 24/7. If there was a phone call that came in and there was a hospitalization or a fall or a combative incident, whatever it might have been, there was a lot of different things over the course of that 10 years that she lived here. And it just, the care may be continual and indefinite, without a seeming light at the end of the tunnel. And that's really what happens many times. You can be a caregiver for decades, especially if you're an older parent and you've got a special needs adult child that you're caregiving for, or your parent is living with you. It can go on. The care can start and go on for decades, 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years. And the guilt and pressure to always be there and be available can really push you towards neglecting your own self-care. So we are vulnerable as family caregivers, to try to figure out, how am I going to do this, and how am I going to take care of myself while I'm doing it? I never took care of myself. I was always the last. And I remember thinking, I don't even remember the last time I went to the dentist, or I really do need to go to see my doctor and get have a physical. I was always making appointments for everybody else, of course, my kids, and her. I had to establish all new specialists and different things that were needed. It was helpful at the facility where she lived that there was primary care, podiatry, different things that did come in, and also her psych case management group they were outstanding. Wish I could remember the name of that agency, but they were so good to us and so good to me. They really knew, what we were going through. So Anyway, some of the things that you can do, and then I'm going to encourage you to do on how to manage compassion fatigue, especially while you're still caregiving, because you can't wait until you have a health crisis. And we used to see this a lot. We would see elderly couples where they were in their 80s and one was doing really, really well, and the other one maybe had a bad bout of this and had an infection, and it took them months to really recover. By the time that person started recovering, that other person was so exhausted that they fell ill. So it's just hard. It's a hard thing. But acknowledging it without feeling guilty, because you're doing your very best. When I met people, I would always encourage them to remind themselves. I'm going to fan myself because it's so hot in here. I didn't turn the air down. And of course, it's been so hot in Maryland and across the country. But I would tell them, just go easy on yourself. You're doing the best you can. Remind yourself that you're doing the best that you can. And understand that these feelings of overwhelm, it doesn't mean you're failing. It just means that you have a lot going on. You could be working and having caregivers come into your house while you're at the office taking care of your parent. So it is common. And recognizing it is the first step to healing. So setting boundaries, I think, is a really good thing too. And just saying no. I've learned to say no the older I get. I don't know about you. I have no problem saying no. I have like sort of a non-filter. Like I try to be really nice, but sometimes I'm like, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. And it's probably because I'm moving and I've got like so much, I'm doing this all by myself. It's a lot. It's a lot. And that's another reason to downsize early. Let me tell you, I wish I had downsized. I wish I hadn't bought so much stuff, but I inherited stuff and beautiful antiques and different things. But still, I could have said no. I could have said no, and I didn't. The other thing is delegating tasks. Now, my plan or my situation was different because I was the person that moved my parent close to me and in with me. And then together we searched for the proper place for her to live. She loved it. She was there 10 years. But delegating tasks, if you have other siblings or other people that you can ask for help, don't be like me. Don't be hyper independent and think that you need to do every single thing. Don't do that to yourself. Try to, even if it's somebody from their church or a friend of theirs that could come over and visit so that you can get out and go somewhere and have fun for a few hours, take a walk, go out to lunch with a friend, just to know that someone else is there looking after your spouse or your parent or your adult child. That's what you need. You need some time to yourself. Go get a massage, go for a nice walk, just do whatever you want. Go to the library. A lot of times that break is for your physical care, like you're going to go to the dentist, you're going to go to the doctors. But using even respite care services, sometimes a few hours a week, it's so great, especially if you can find a really good caregiver. If you have any friends and they have a caregiver that they used, find out who they are, put them in your phone, and even if you don't need them now, you might need them down the road. And to have somebody that you can trust that can come a couple times a week, there's nothing better than finding a great caregiver that you trust, that you know your loved one or your family member really likes. And then you can start to build a routine for yourself, for your own self-care, right? Doing scheduled regular breaks, even if they're short, even if you're just taking a walk around the block, or you're, like I said, going and getting a couple things from the grocery store. And really trying to prioritize your sleep and your own nutrition and exercise. Sometimes the only break you might get is if you get an hour away, you might decide that, you know what, I'm going to run to the grocery store, but I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to take my Tai Chi class, or I'm going to go play pickleball with my friends for an hour. You deserve time off. You deserve, your loved one knows how hard you work and they want you to be happy. And you deserve to be happy. You really do. And a lot of that gets put on the back burner, right? And it is hard because those moments of joy, whether it's through music or doing a hobby that you love or time outdoors, it's so needed. And it does give you like such a lift. I remember, and for me, it was like over the weekends, I would always like reset and I would start to feel good. And then by Tuesday, Wednesday, I was like, I don't know. Am I going to be able to get through the week? It's different when you have little kids. I mean, that just added like one other layer. There was a lot more things going on too in my life at that time that, you just can't imagine some of the things that you can live through. And I'm going to do a whole video series on forgiveness and surviving life's challenges, because I will tell you, this decade was one of those times for me. And it really spurred something for me that has become like a regular practice, and it's like my religious practices, like prayer and meditation. It's really helped me. Sometimes I just listen to something on my phone. I'll do like a guided meditation or prayer. I just listen to, and sometimes on YouTube there's just different people, and I really find them all fascinating. Some of them are like Ayurvedic gurus. Others are like, there's this one priest that I follow. His channel is called Pray With Me. So there's all these different people that I just pick and choose little things. And even if it was 5 minutes a day, it gets me breathing. It gets me calming my central nervous system. Some people, journal. And that might be something really cool too, because you know what it might do for you? It might allow you to reflect after your loved one is gone on the different days, the different good days that you had, and the days that you didn't think you were going to get through, but you did. Yeah, I made a journal of the first year of my babies when I had my twins in 2006. I journaled every day for a year. Some days, as it started getting harder, the work started getting harder. The feedings and the naps and the sleepless nights and things like that. I would have some breaks in the journaling, but it was so sweet, some of the things that I said about how blessed I felt to have them in my life, and what a gift it was, at my age, to have those two. And I don't know, when I read it, it made me cry, because I was like, wow, I really had the fortitude to make sure I did that at nighttime. And anyway, now it makes me sad because, I don't know, just some different things. But even just some focused breathing and reflection to kind of restore your clarity and calm yourself, and also like reading up on it. Maybe there's something that that you can find by looking up like what stress does to the body, and how you can learn how to reduce your fear, knowing and empowering yourself by being knowledgeable about your loved one's condition. So if someone, say, has Parkinson's or COPD or congestive heart failure or something, what does that look like, and what should I be looking for? How can I best support them? If you don't have home health care and you're dealing with someone that has what's considered a chronic illness, their health insurance will most likely cover weekly nursing visits, or at least twice monthly, and therapy support. So physical, occupational, if someone needs speech therapy after a stroke. Some of these benefits are unknown until people really need them. And even then, all you need is a doctor's order to get them. If that person's deemed homebound and they're unable to safely leave their home without your assistance, they qualify. And then just accepting that life isn't perfect. I mean, nobody does anything perfectly, and it's okay. I mean, compassion fatigue often grows from trying to do it all, and I am definitely guilty of that, and I'm sure that at times you are too. Trying to maintain your own home and running back and forth to your parents, or flying back and forth, or trying to coordinate services remotely. These are all things that I experienced firsthand. Having a complete stranger knock on my mom's door every month, and she was like, "Who's this lady? Why does she keep coming to my house?" My mom was something. She really was. I was lucky to have her. Anyway, recovering while you're going through caregiving, it isn't something that you're going to fix. It's going to be something that you're going to manage really continuously. And you don't have to wait until you hit rock bottom and have complete burnout. I mean, you don't want to do that to yourself. So implement some of these self-care things so that you feel empowered to keep going, really. And if you feel like you're slipping into like severe depression, obviously any thoughts of self-harm or completely shutting down emotionally, definitely seek help. I found a great therapist, and I did meet her. I was able to meet her in person once a week. My in-laws would come and they would babysit. It took two of them to do what I did every single day for an hour. But they loved it, and I'm so glad that they were able to do it, because they were so good. They were so excited to have the kids to look after and just start playing with them and stuff. So but seek professional help if you need it. I mean, you're not alone. This is not, it's not a race. It's not, who can do it better. No. I mean, you're already doing one huge loving act for someone else by being their caregiver. Now do one more for yourself, because you do deserve it. I mean, we all do. It's a loving act being a caregiver. So anyway, I hope you liked this video. And if you would want to leave me a comment, tell me where you're viewing from. I would totally love to hear that. I'm starting to grow the channel a little bit more, but since I have been moving and so stressed out, I've gotten sick. So what do you think? Bronchitis. And so I'm on week 2. They said it's going to take maybe up to 3 weeks, and they weren't kidding. It certainly has. I've been up and down with the coughing and using the inhaler and stuff, but I'm starting to feel better. I went to the gym and did some yoga 2 days ago. So I just wish the rain would stop so I could get out and do my walks. So I'm sending you a big hug, and I'm wishing you all the very best, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye.